The slap came before the vows. Sharp, loud. It cut through the music, through the laughter, through the illusion of a perfect wedding, and for a second the entire world stood still. Zariah Vale Park did lower her hand. Not yet. Her chest rose and fell, slow, controlled, but her eyes were done pretending. I saw the messages, Lucian. A ripple moved through the crowd. Phones lifted, whispers spread. Lucian Armand Cade smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You're making a mistake," he said quietly, stepping closer, his voice polished, controlled, threatening. Zariah let out a breath, not shaky. Steady. "No," she said. "I've been making one for 2 years." And then she turned. Dress flowing, veil slipping, heart pounding. She walked past the altar, past the guests, past the life she had been trying so hard to hold together. And then, she ran. The doors burst open. Cold air hit her face. Her heels snapped against the pavement, once, twice, then she kicked them off and didn't stop. Behind her, Zariah. Lucian. Angry now. Not embarrassed. Not sorry. Angry. Footsteps followed. Fast, heavy, closing in. Her breath hitched, her vision blurred. Her heart slammed against her ribs like it was trying to escape before she could. Think. 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 But she didn't think. She moved. The nearest black car. Door handle. Pulled. Unlocked. She yanked it open and slipped inside. And froze. Because the man in the driver's seat wasn't startled. He wasn't confused. He was watching her. Calm. Still. Like chaos didn't touch him. Like he belonged to something far more dangerous than it. Outside, voices were getting closer. "Did you see where she went?" Zariah's fingers tightened on the door. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking now. "Just drive." The man didn't move. His eyes swept over her once, taking in everything. The dress, the tears, the fear. And something else. Something deeper. Then, a soft click. The doors locked. Zariah's breath caught. The man leaned back slightly, one hand resting on the wheel, his expression unreadable. Cold. Controlled. Deciding. "Get in properly," he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried weight. The kind that didn't need to be loud to be obeyed. And that was the moment Zariah Vale Park realized. She hadn't just escaped her past. She had stepped into something far more dangerous. And she had no idea. Who was sitting beside her? If you felt that moment, that tension, that choice she just made, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because this story, it only gets deeper from here. Lucian Armand Cade had always known how to enter a room. Not loudly, not arrogantly, but in a way that made people look up and stay looking. The first time Zariah met him, he hadn't even tried. A quiet smile, a simple question, a kind of attention that felt intentional, like he saw her, not just the version of her everyone else accepted. And that was how it started. Not with control, with care. He remembered things, small things, the way she took her tea, the stories about her mother, the way she hesitated before speaking, like she was measuring whether her voice was worth the space. With Lucian, it always felt like it was. At least in the beginning. He opened doors, pulled out chairs, listened, really listened. He made her feel chosen in a world where she had always felt like she was optional. And slowly, quietly, that feeling became something else. "Why do you always second-guess yourself?" he had asked once, his tone soft, almost amused. Zariah had smiled, unsure. "I don't know, habit, I guess." "You don't need that anymore," he said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "You have me now." At the time, it sounded like protection. Like safety. Like love. But somewhere along the way, his suggestions became preferences, and his preferences became expectations. The dresses he liked, the friends he didn't, the way she spoke, the way she laughed, the way she existed. Always subtle, never forceful. Just enough to make her wonder if she was the one who needed adjusting. And Zariah adjusted. Because it was easier than questioning it. Easier than losing him. Easier than admitting that the man who made her feel seen might also be the one slowly deciding what she was allowed to be. By the time the ring was on her finger, Lucian didn't need to control her. She was already doing it for him. The first sign wasn't obvious. It never is. It was in the pauses. The way Lucian's phone would light up, and his thumb would hover just a second too long before turning it face down. The way his attention, once so deliberate, began to drift, like she was still there, but no longer the center of his focus. "Work, been insane," he would say, loosening his tie, not quite meeting her eyes. Zariah would nod. Of course, that made sense. Everything always made sense, if she wanted it to. Then came the small absences. Late nights that stretched into early mornings, calls he took in other rooms, a new cologne she didn't recognize, sharp and unfamiliar, clinging to him long after he walked through the door. "You smell different," she said once lightly. Lucian smiled, effortless. New client gift. And just like that, the moment passed. Because he made it easy to let it pass. But Zariah noticed. She noticed everything. The messages that disappeared too quickly, the way his tone changed when certain names appeared, the subtle shift in his patience, how it thinned when she asked too many questions, even gently. "You're overthinking again," he would say, brushing it off with that same calm certainty that had once made her feel safe. And she would stop. Not because she believed him completely, but because confronting, it meant risking everything she had built her life around. So she chose silence, chose peace over truth, chose to ignore the quiet voice in her chest that kept whispering, "Something isn't right." Instead, she smiled when expected, planned the wedding, tasted cakes, picked flowers, built a future on top of a feeling she refused to name. Because admitting it would mean one thing, that the man she was about to marry might already belong to someone else. The morning of the wedding arrived wrapped in light. Soft music, gentle laughter, the quiet hum of something that was supposed to be perfect. Zariah sat in front of the mirror, hands resting in her lap as someone adjusted the veil behind her. White lace, delicate, beautiful, everything she had chosen with care. Everything that felt distant. "You look stunning," someone said. She smiled automatically. But her eyes didn't agree. They lingered on her reflection a second too long, searching for something familiar, something certain. Instead, all she saw was a version of herself that had learned how to look right, even when things felt wrong. Her phone buzzed on the table. A message. Unknown number. Her heart dipped before she even picked it up. Just one image. No caption. No explanation. But it didn't need one. Lucian. Laughing. Close, too close, to a woman Zariah had never seen before. His hand resting where it shouldn't be. His expression unguarded, real in a way she hadn't seen in months. For a moment, the room went quiet. Not the kind of quiet you hear. The kind you feel. Heavy, pressing. "Zariah," someone called softly, "are you okay?" She locked the screen, placed the phone down carefully, and smiled again. "I'm fine." The words came easily. Too easily. Outside, guests were arriving, flowers arranged, music rising. Everything moving forward, like it was meant to. But inside her, something had shifted. Not broken. Not yet. But stretched to its limit. She stood slowly as the veil was placed over her face, the world softening behind white lace. A final step. A final chance to turn back. Her heart pounded, Not with excitement, but with something sharper. A question she had been avoiding for too long. Stay and pretend. Or speak and lose everything. The doors opened, and Zariah Vale Park walked forward, carrying beauty, silence, and the truth she could no longer ignore. The music swelled as she reached the altar. Lucian stood waiting, immaculate, composed, every inch the man the world admired. His eyes met hers, warm on the surface, unreadable beneath it. Zariah stopped just short of him. For a moment, everything aligned. The flowers, the light, the watching faces. Perfect. Zariah, he murmured, a small smile forming. You look. Who is she? The words slipped into the air, quiet but sharp enough to cut through the ceremony. A ripple moved through the guests. Lucian blinked once. What? Zariah didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The woman in the photo, she said, steady. The one you've been meeting, laughing with, touching. Silence fell, heavy, immediate. Lucian's jaw tightened, but he recovered quickly, that polished calm sliding back into place. This isn't the time, he said under his breath, stepping closer. We'll talk about this later. No, Zariah replied. We won't. A phone lifted somewhere in the crowd. Then another. Lucian's eyes flickered, irritation breaking through. You're overthinking again. The word hit differently this time. Zariah reached into the small clutch at her side and pulled out her phone. One tap. The image lit up the large screen behind them, clear, undeniable. A collective gasp. Lucian froze. Not for long, but long enough. This is what you call overthinking, she asked, her voice no longer quiet, no longer soft. Or should I have waited until after the vows? His composure cracked. You're embarrassing yourself, he snapped, his voice low but sharp. Put that down. No, she said again, stronger now, final. The word echoed. Lucian stepped closer, his hand reaching for her wrist, not gently this time. Enough. Zariah pulled back before he could touch her. Her chest rose, fell, and then she slapped him. The sound rang through the room, clean and undeniable. Gasps exploded. Lucian staggered half a step, shock flashing across his face, followed instantly by something darker. Something dangerous. And for the first time, Zariah didn't shrink. For a second, no one moved. Then everything did. Voices rose, chairs scraped. Someone called her name once, twice, then louder, sharper. Zariah. Lucian. Not pleading. Not apologizing. Angry. The kind of anger that didn't want resolution, only control. Zariah turned before it could reach her. The veil slipped from her head as she moved, catching on her shoulder before falling away completely. White lace trailed behind her, then disappeared as she pushed through the doors and into the open air. Cold. Bright. Real. Her heels struck the pavement, once, twice, then snapped against the ground. She didn't stop to fix them. She kicked them off and kept running, barefoot, the world blurring at the edges. Behind her, the doors burst open. Stop her. Footsteps followed. Fast, heavy. Closing in. Her breath came sharp now, uneven, her heart pounding so hard it felt like it might break through her ribs. Think. But thinking had never saved her. So she didn't. She moved. A black car sat just ahead, engine low, almost silent, too still, too clean. She didn't question it. She reached for the handle, half expecting it to be locked. It was. The door opened. Zariah slipped inside, pulling it shut behind her just as voices echoed closer. Did you see where she? Silence. Not outside. Inside. She froze. Because the man in the driver's seat hadn't reacted. Hadn't flinched. He was already looking at her. Dark eyes, steady, unreadable. Like he had been watching long before she arrived. Her breath hitched, Please, she whispered, gripping the edge of the seat. Just drive. Nothing. The air felt heavier in the car, colder somehow. His gaze moved over her, slow, deliberate, taking in the dress, the bare feet, the shaking hands. Measuring. Deciding. Then, a soft click. The doors locked. Zariah's pulse spiked. The man leaned back slightly, one hand resting on the wheel, the other still. Calm. Composed. Dangerous. Get in properly, he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried something heavier than volume. Authority. And for reasons she couldn't explain. Zariah obeyed. The car didn't move immediately. It idled. Quiet, controlled, like the man behind the wheel. Zariah sat rigid, her hands clenched in her lap, her breath still uneven. Outside, voices blurred past, searching, shouting, but inside the car, everything felt contained. Safe. Or maybe just sealed. The man finally shifted, his gaze sliding from her to the windshield. Seatbelt, he said. Zariah blinked, caught off guard by the normalcy of it. Then, almost automatically, she reached for it and clicked it into place. Only then did the car begin to move. Smooth, effortless. Like nothing outside could touch it. Zariah glanced at him again, really looking this time. Sharp lines, controlled posture, no wasted movement. He didn't grip the wheel, he rested on it, like even the act of driving required no effort. Thank you, she said quietly. No response. Just the faint hum of the engine. Seconds passed. Then, you caused quite a scene. His voice was calm, observational, not judgmental but not sympathetic either. Zariah swallowed. I didn't plan to. A brief pause. I know. The words were simple, but certain. Zariah frowned slightly. You know. For the first time, he glanced at her fully. And something in his eyes shifted. Not warmth. Recognition. You don't strike me as someone who enjoys attention, he said. Her breath caught. He had seen through her in seconds. Before she could respond, headlights flashed briefly in the rearview mirror. A second car, then a third. Too close, too coordinated. Zariah noticed. He didn't react, which somehow made it worse. Who are you? She asked, her voice softer now, edged with something else. Not fear. Awareness. The car slowed slightly as they approached an intersection. Then, without urgency, without hesitation, he turned the wheel, changing direction with quiet precision. Only then did he answer. Seo Yihayan. The name settled heavily in the space between them. Zariah didn't recognize it, but something in the way he said it. Not introduction. Not explanation. A fact. Told her enough. And as the cars behind them followed without question, Zariah realized she hadn't escaped into safety. She had stepped into power. Lucian didn't shout. Not at first. He stood in the wreckage of the ceremony, guests whispering, phones still raised, the screen behind him frozen on the image that had shattered everything, and smiled. Tight, controlled. Dangerous. Everyone, he said smoothly, adjusting his cuff as if nothing had happened. I think it's best we give Zariah a moment. Emotions are high. A few people nodded, others hesitated. But Lucian had always known how to command a room. Even now. Especially now. The moment the crowd began to thin, the smile disappeared. His jaw locked, his eyes darkened. Find her. The words were quiet, but absolute. One of his associates stepped forward. Sir, she left on foot. We're checking the... I don't care how, Lucian cut in, voice sharp now, cracking at the edges. You bring her back. Not safe. Not unharmed. Just back. His phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. A single image. Zariah entering a black car. Lucian's expression stilled, then shifted. Not confusion. Recognition. Interesting, he murmured. Because he knew that car. Or rather, he knew the kind of man who would sit inside it. His grip tightened around the phone. Change of plan, he said, voice dropping lower, colder. Don't touch her. A pause. Watch. Across the city, Zariah's phone lit up in her lap. One message. No name. Just a number she knew too well. Lucian. Her chest tightened as she stared at the screen. Then, another message. And another. Images. Clips. Moments she didn't remember sharing, but somehow he had. Her apartment, her routines, her life. Watched. Tracked. Controlled. Her fingers trembled. A final message appeared. You don't get to walk away from me. 3 dots flickered. Then disappeared. And then, come back, Zariah, before this becomes something you can't fix. The car felt colder. Smaller. Zariah's breath slowed, but not with calm. With realization. This wasn't over. Not even close. And Lucian Armand Cade wasn't asking anymore. The message stayed on the screen a second too long. Then it went dark. Zariah didn't move. Her fingers hovered, her breath shallow, not panicked now, but measured, like she was trying to contain something that had already begun to spill. You should block him. Seo Yihayan's voice cut through the silence. Calm, certain. Zariah let out a quiet breath. That won't stop him. No, he said simply. It won't. The car turned smoothly onto a quieter road, the city noise fading behind them. The vehicles that had been following kept their distance, close enough to matter, far enough not to be seen. Zariah noticed. Of course she did. Are they with you? She asked softly. Yes. No hesitation. No explanation. Just truth. Her chest tightened slightly, not with fear, but awareness. The kind that came when you realized you were no longer moving randomly, but being moved within something structured, controlled. She looked at him again, really looked this time. You knew, she said. Back there, you knew what was happening. A pause. I knew enough. Zariah swallowed, and you still let me in. That, finally, earned the smallest shift in his expression. People don't usually choose chaos unless they have no other option, he said. You didn't hesitate. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came. Because he was right. I don't take in strangers, he continued, and I don't involve myself in problems that aren't mine. The car slowed. Stopped. Not abruptly. Deliberately. Yihayan turned to face her fully now, his gaze steady, weighing, already halfway to a decision. But I can solve yours. The words settled between them, heavy, undeniable. Zariah's pulse quickened. And what would that cost me? She asked quietly. Because she understood something now. Nothing about him was free. Yihayan held her gaze for a moment longer. Then, your honesty, he said. A beat. And your compliance. The air shifted. Zariah felt it. The edge beneath the calm. Protection. Control. Power. Offered and expected. Her heart pounded, not with fear this time, but something sharper. Choice. Go back and be owned by a past she had already outgrown. Or step forward. Into something far more dangerous. Zariah exhaled slowly. And for the first time, she didn't choose the safer option. They didn't go to her apartment. They didn't go anywhere she recognized. The car slowed in front of a glass-fronted building, quiet, guarded, the kind of place that didn't need to announce what it was to be understood. Out, Yihayan said. Zariah stepped out first. The air felt different here, still controlled. Like everything inside obeyed one person. Lucian was already there. Of course he was. Leaning against a car, suit perfect, expression calm, too calm. But his eyes locked onto her the moment she appeared. Relief flickered. Then possession. "Zariah," he said, pushing off the car, voice smooth again. "There you are." As if she had simply wandered off. As if nothing had happened. "You've made quite a mess," he continued, stepping closer. "But we can fix it, we always do." "Wait." Zariah felt the word settle and reject itself. "I'm not coming back," she said. Simple, clear. Lucian's smile tightened. "You're upset, understandably, but this isn't you." "No," she replied softly. "It finally is." His gaze sharpened. "Don't do this," he warned, his voice dropping. "Not here, not like this." A step closer. Then he stopped. Because Yihayan had moved. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just enough. And suddenly, the space between them wasn't empty anymore. Lucian's eyes flicked to him, once. Recognition. Real this time. "I see," Lucian said slowly, the pieces clicking into place. "You didn't run." His gaze returned to Zariah, darker now. "You traded up." Zariah didn't flinch. "I chose differently." The words landed harder than anything she had said before. Lucian's composure cracked, just slightly. "You don't know what you're standing next to," he said, voice tight. Yihayan finally spoke. "She does." Quiet. Final. Lucian held his gaze for a second too long, then looked away first. A mistake. A shift. Subtle, but irreversible. And in that moment, Zariah saw it clearly. Lucian had always needed control. Yihayan didn't. And for the first time, Lucian wasn't the most powerful man in the room. The silence that followed wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Lucian stood there, still composed on the surface, but something underneath had shifted, something he couldn't fix with charm or control or carefully chosen words. For the first time, he had nothing Zariah wanted. And that was the real loss. Zariah looked at him, really looked this time, not as the man she had built her life around, not as the version she had defended, excused, protected, but as he was. A man who needed control to feel powerful. A man who called possession love. A man she had once chosen. Because she didn't yet know how to choose herself. She exhaled slowly, the weight in her chest loosening, not completely, but enough. "I'm done," she said. No anger. No hesitation. Just truth. Lucian didn't move, didn't argue. Because somewhere, deep down, he understood. This time, she meant it. Zariah turned. Not toward Yihayan. Not toward the building. But forward. Away. Her steps were steady now, no longer rushed, no longer escaping. Choosing. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't reacting. She was deciding. Yihayan didn't stop her. Didn't follow immediately. Because he recognized something most people didn't. This moment didn't belong to him. It belonged to her. Zariah Vale Park walked away not as someone saved, but as someone who had finally seen clearly. That love without respect is not love. That silence is not strength. And that sometimes, you have to burn down everything you thought you needed to finally become who you were meant to be. She didn't know what came next, but for the first time, she wasn't afraid of it. If this story moved you, if you felt even a piece of Zariah's journey, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes the stories we watch are the ones we need to finally understand our own.